Hello, everybody. It's our podcast, episode 39.
Our current president, said like he demands the Fed to lower the rates. I don't know. I'm not the expert on rates, but
yeah. So what we have been seeing is the current president does want the rates to come down, but that's really going to depend on a lot of factors.
there's a lot going on, right? New president, new rules,
Right.
you hear tariffs, you hear I want to take over Greenland. I mean, our clients,
So, yeah,
our clients worried when they call you, like they panic, like.
So I would say about 50% of my clientele is Hispanics.
Okay.
So right now, I don't know if most of you are familiar with,
Yeah.
but there's like raids going on, ICE raids.
Yeah,
So a lot of my clients have kind of stopped shopping
of course.
because they're afraid of what can happen.
What
if
could happen?
They're, at an open house or, just shopping.
With the inventory we were talking before.
But it's funny because, where I'm at, Edison Park, when anything goes up, we always see the same people, like at the same open houses and in the same price category.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's a
that's-
joke because, like,
That's
okay, we'll
hilarious.
see you at the next one.
Yeah.
Dan Curis. You right?
got it.
I got
That's
it.
it.
I've been rehearsing the last 5 minutes.
He just had a practice
he's-
time.
And Gio Branch, you're a lender. Dan's got his own real estate office too, not far
Yes, sir.
from us.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you start, Dan? Tell us your company and how you got started. And
Okay, that sounds great. Well, my name is Dan Curis. I've been in real estate for 13 years. First started off with DiApril Properties, Ryan DiApril, good friend of mine. He's
Ryan.
really
Ryan's
awesome.
cool
Yeah,
guy.
he's a cool dude. And so started off with DiApril Properties, and then I branched off and formed Northwest Real Estate Group, and we're down in Edison Park. We've been there for about 7 years. So
Nice.
we just did 52 million in volume last year, 2024.
Oh, congrats, man. That's
We
awesome.
got 24 agents that work for us.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a nice office. Have you?
Yeah. I've been by. I've never been inside, but I've been by.
Yeah.
And I saw him in some videos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's
Stand
he's
like
got
that.
very creative videos.
Very interesting videos.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Stand like-
Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that kind of motion. Loving this devotion.
top in the
I mean,
building.
the cars flying, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. We don't have as much cafe and espresso as XR.
Yeah, no.
But
we,
it's pretty close.
we all have our thing, right? So,
Yeah.
So how did you get started in real estate? Like, obviously you started there, but like, what
Yeah.
made you decide, like, hey, I want to do this, or this is interesting? Or...
Right. Yeah. So I actually bought my first home in 2012, and my real estate agent, her name's Debbie Schroeder. She's still in the industry. I think she's like in her late 70s, and she was amazing. And so
Really?
she made the process really fun for me. And I was like, you know what? I can see myself doing this like for other people and providing value. And so I caught the bug, and I got my license, and here I am today.
That's awesome.
So-
Well, she must have been pretty good. I mean, she inspired you to do it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
she was great, man. She picked me up in her car. When was the last time you had a
picked you
car?
up?
Yeah, she
Wow.
picked me up. I'm like,
Man.
wow. Like she opens
She's
the
making
door
us
for
look
me. I'm
bad.
like, this is great. But when was the last time you had like a buyer in your car? Like, do you do that anymore? Is that-
if a lot of times in the city, like if you're in the city, like they don't have a lot of people don't have a car. So sometimes if I'm going and the parking's bad, so you're going, they just hop in with you and you're going. It's tough because we all multitask, and sometimes like if I'm there with them for like 2 or 3 hours, it's like, okay, now you got the emails, you got the phone calls, you can't really ignore.
Correct.
And then afterwards, you're like, holy, so then you got to run somewhere else and you got to like catch
I mean,
up.
Debbie does it more old school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
That's how it used to be back in the day.
I like it. I mean, I like doing it. It's just you got to make everybody happy.
I like it too. I mean, is anyone in the Maserati lately?
You got to take your shoes off. You got only in your socks.
Yeah, my kids have to take off their shoes. when they get in.
There you go. Yeah, I guess I did pick up a client 2 months ago, but it's the same thing. Like you said, it's like when you're in the city and you're going to multiple appointments and parking's really tight, you might as well pay 1 meter as opposed to 2 or 3.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So
Yeah.
What about Gio?
Yeah, we're here. I mean,
Save the best for last. Yeah, so basically I work with A&N Mortgage, been in the industry for the past 4 years now. One thing that I do love about real estate that got me interested in real estate was, like Dan mentioned, the realtor that I worked with when I bought my first property, older lady as well, in her mid 70s.
See, dude, yeah.
Man, wait, how did,
They know how to do it.
I don't mean to cut you off. How did you get like you? She was like, how did you connect? You were probably what, low 30s or
Yeah,
30, and,
yeah,
and then you
right.
got some of your. See, what about you?
So
How did that work?
I used her name was Jan, was due to her experience. She seemed like a very, very experienced. She's been doing it for, I believe, like 40 years.
Yeah.
So she basically guided me throughout the whole process. I didn't know nothing about buying, so she basically connected me with the lender, walked me through the home inspection, appraisal, everything in detail. So that's why that was
Yeah,
one of
but
the.
how did you meet her? Did you like was it a referral or was it?
So I met her through the listing.
Oh, so you okay? So
yeah,
Both sides.
yeah. So
oh, so
like it, right?
she was
she
both?
was a listing
got
agent
both.
I
for
see
the
what she did.
property. It was a multi-unit, and contacted her, and she contacted me back right away. And then
With smooth sailing, huh?
yeah, it was smooth.
Oh, you can continue. I'm sorry. So go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just curious because you guys both had usually birds of a feather. I would think you get someone around your age.
Oh, I was just seeking the experience from her, I guess.
That's good.
I think it depends, right? If you're older and you have and you adapt with the times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're still doing like I'm older technically, but I'm still like I'm doing the social media, I'm on the phone. And
Oh yeah, no, I know. That's why I was asking
So
about how they
I'll
how they
make the younger
connected.
person feel comfortable, and maybe she did the same thing. but
Correct.
Debbie probably went a little even overboard.
Yeah,
But they don't.
she
they
went up
both
Jan.
did-
Debbie went up Jan with the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
pickup.
Yeah, but
That's
hey,
it.
she didn't make me take my shoes off though.
But then the younger person, realtor or mortgage person, could provide also a lot of value as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're knowledgeable and they learn the material, right? They could
Correct.
provide that value and have a little bit more grit.
I think that's where the difference was. Sometimes you get the younger person; they're a little bit more motivated, and they know the, like I actually had one deal this past year. The realtor was older, pretty old, and she like didn't do email. She dropped the contract off. Like so, I had to make like, okay. Usually it's like boom, boom, they get it. He's like, okay, let me go back. Okay. She'd say at my office. I'm like, I think your offer's accepted. I got to go check my mail. So that was a little not adapting. But anyway, so then you had a good experience. So then you decided like, hey, maybe I'll do this or.
Yeah, so I worked with her. The only thing I did have a little bit of a negative experience there was communication. Communication was a little bit, like you mentioned, everything was done through paper. So text wasn't her thing, so she would have to meet me in person to actually
Yeah.
talk to me about what was the next step.
Okay.
How long ago was that?
This was 5 years ago.
Oh, okay, so not too long ago.
So how did you go from real estate? Sorry. for
Yeah,
interrupting.
yeah, all right, go ahead.
Like then you went into mortgage.
So
versus-
I started working with the loan officer, and then at that time I was working for a digital marketing agency.
Oh, nice.
So I used to run social media ads.
Wow.
And this was around COVID. The agency started doing a little bit bad due to our main client was a car dealership.
Got it.
So I don't know if you guys know about like the chips. They weren't making many chips
Correct.
back then during COVID.
Correct.
So basically, work started slowing down, and the loan officer I worked with actually told me, "Hey, do you want to get started with mortgages?" So then that's basically I just took it from there and
Yeah.
just pursued that career.
Yeah, I mean, he probably saw something in you, right? Personality
Oh, yeah.
and being focused and detail oriented. So, because when you're a mortgage officer, it's a lot going on.
Yes, there's a lot of multitasking stuff that a lot of people that are not part of the industry see,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of multitasking. You're basically running your own business while still taking care of yourself and family
Correct.
and everything.
Correct. So, what company you work? Did we say that?
I don't know. Did you say?
So everybody knows.
I started with Rocket Mortgage, but
Okay.
now I work with A&N Mortgage.
Thank God.
We'll hear from the horse's mouth. Like, what's the difference when we go from Rocket? Because I always get a lot of people they do a lot of marketing and they're like, oh no, I'm Rocket. I got one girl, she will not budge off Rocket.
Is it safe to say or?
We don't.
say whatever you like.
Well,
Don't
the
worry.
Rocket Mortgage Police didn't. They're not. It's not a jurisdiction.
As
So you
long as
could.
they're
We got
not
this is XR. I own all the rights, and
No, yeah. So
we got freedom. You say whatever you want.
no, Rocket Mortgage was a great experience. Very good learning experience.
Of course.
Great systems, operations, everything you name it. The only thing there was I wasn't building my business. I was
Got it.
building somebody else's business.
Yep.
I had no contact with the client
Makes
after
sense.
the sale.
Makes
It was
sense.
mostly about just getting the next person in.
Yep.
Kind of like a factory, just next one, next
Correct.
order, next
Yeah.
order.
Assembly line.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's
and
that's
it's
a.
similar to Frank. It's similar to real estate too. Like you're working for like that's why like me or Dan, we have our own we have Frank, we have our own like little boutique company.
Correct.
Versus being like, don't get me wrong, love the Compass, Remax, but
Correct.
it's a little bit different.
And then,
you know?
and it's not like, and we don't need to. You don't need to have your own. Like we were at another smaller place. We had, so it was more. We were able to brand ourselves
Right.
versus the company. We tell our agents here too. Well, yeah, we appreciate the branding of who we are, but like this is your business. You build your business. You get your clients. Where I feel like sometimes the bigger guys they want to control that, so then they have control of like you and how much you could grow. So you're kind of like dependent on them. Is that what you felt?
Yeah,
That's
I
what I'm
felt
thinking.
that I was limited to only, bringing in clients for them, but not building my own business. And that's the entrepreneurship in me. Always wanted to build something for myself. So that was a footprint that I wasn't able to accomplish with Rocket Mortgage at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good political correct.
Yeah, I think there's nothing dangerous about that.
But anyways, besides that, today we're here because we want to talk about the state of the markets, right? And that's why we brought a lender that I met you throughout the years, and you seem like you're on top of your game. And then I met Dan. I know he's a local guy too. And he's on top of his game, and so I like to just brainstorm. So the consumer knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I guess let's talk about what do you think about the market right now?
Well, it's what? Today's February 5th. It's
Yeah.
busy. It's busy out
Busy,
there.
right?
Yeah, it's active, very active out there. So obviously still very little to no inventory. So that inventory that we do have is getting eaten up really
Yeah.
quick, even though rates are still high, right?
Rates are high. Rates
Yeah.
are still high, right? Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ballpark right now, 6.5%, 7%.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
People still buying.
people are still buying, but it's funny because where I'm at Edison Park, when anything goes up, we always see the same people like at the same open houses in the same place.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's a joke because
That's
okay, we'll
hilarious.
see you at the next one.
Yeah.
So, but market's very active right now. I'm
Okay.
sure you guys are seeing the same thing, too,
Yeah,
right,
we are.
Frank?
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah.
So, I'm very optimistic for this year. 2025 is going to be a really good year.
I mean, and we had a lot going on, right? This we went through COVID and an election. This is post-election.
Correct.
A lot going on.
and then we had that NAR thing too. That was kind of a big.
Yep.
It was a big distraction. Let's face it. Like,
No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like first 3 months of not knowing how it's going to work. Then it happened. Then you're trying to implement. And then now I feel like this year, okay, we don't have none of that noise. Now we just focus on people can focus on, doing what you got to do.
I mean, with the NAR settlement, have you seen any changes for your end? On your end?
Not really. It's almost business as usual. We've implemented a few policies, but it's just an extra conversation that we have to have with the consumer.
Correct.
That's it. And so
Correct.
you guys do it right. Obviously,
Correct.
as long as you're providing exceptional amounts of value,
Correct.
everything's going to work out. So
Correct.
I think essentially that's
Plus, it seems like sellers are willing to pay right now still.
sellers are still willing to
For the
pay.
most part.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Because they see value in the process.
Correct.
And so
Until the market gets too hot, and then they're not going to want.
and then that could happen, right?
I'm just saying.
But essentially, as long as we're providing that value, which we've
Yeah.
always done that. But as far as interest rates, Gio, I mean, I don't know what you're seeing or what you're hearing, but I know that with the policies, like with the new government and whatnot, I know they're cleaning up a lot of this government spending.
Yeah.
And so, the current administration doesn't like high rates. Nobody likes high rates.
Right.
So they're.
Yeah.
I'm assuming maybe they're going to be doing something to combat that soon. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you guys watch a World Forum, Economic Forum, and our current president, said like he demands the Fed to lower
Correct.
the rates. What do you think? I don't know. I mean, I'm not the expert on rates, but
Yeah. So what we have been seeing is, following the news as well is the current president does want the rates to come down, but that's really going to depend on a lot of factors. It's not just him wanting them to
Right.
come down, because there's a lot of factors that play into it. But the most important thing is that the supply isn't there as far as like the demand that people want. So regardless if the rates do come down, property values are still going to go up if there's not enough supply.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if you just lower it, then everyone's gonna have more buying power, and the
Correct.
price is gonna go up, and you're gonna be back. You're actually gonna be now. You're gonna have a higher price, and you almost want to be might be locked in. We went to actually a Chicago Association of Realtors event. They had some speaker there, and he was saying just because of the the debt, whatever thing's going on, it's gonna be hard for them to come down that much. He thinks like 6% is like basically where they will be, but because we have good employment numbers so far and all that, so
I think the market, I think overall, is going to depend a lot on the jobs.
yeah.
Like if people are still working, they're
Yeah.
always gonna, even if the rates are high, they're still gonna need to buy, or they're not gonna want to rent.
Yeah. And
Ownership is
What
always.
you're right, Greg. And so, what are the 5 Ds? Death, divorce, diamonds, diapers, and downsizing.
Oh,
Right?
there you go. There you
Everyone's
go.
gonna- yeah, right.
I like
Everybody,
that.
I like it.
everybody, all the 5
When he
Ds.
said the
baby.
5 Ds, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what the 5
I can't
Ds are.
believe you guys never heard of the 5 Ds before. This is so I'm teaching you guys something today.
Hey,
but
we're here to learn.
Yeah, so
I like it.
Here we go. Yeah, so
like
like,
it.
like
Yeah.
Greg said, the market's gonna 2025 is
Yeah.
gonna be an extraordinary market.
I feel like any time in my lifespan, right, and what I learned, over my 22 years of experience here, the only time when we had like a crazy market crash was when the jobs went away.
That's
People-
true. Yeah.
People lost a bunch of jobs, and then they just had to sell, and then of course everything else happened because there's a lot of fake mortgages and
With the inventory, we were talking before when you got here, like the inventory where it's at. We were talking like how old the person is the first time they buy,
Right.
and then like how many. There's a lot of like 25 to 35-year-olds. They're all at home. It's like I think it's like 9 million or something.
Yeah, because right now the median age for first-time homebuyers, you said it was 38 years
That's what
old.
was said last year. That's what the guy said on our one of the speakers said at 38. That's pretty old
38.
to be the first to be your first time buying.
Interesting. Wow.
So and there's like I guess there's a
But
big
that's
group.
nationwide. It looks like.
I'm not sure if it was nationwide or if it was, and I've heard this. I don't think I heard it then, but I heard there's like 9 million people from like 25 to 35 or something that are living at home.
I mean, there's a reason.
Yeah,
I mean, a 38-year-old maybe, accumulates some money, has a little down payment, right? He's at that point where like, okay, now I have a kid, I got married, I need to buy.
one of the D's.
And I'm a little
One of the
less-
Ds.
One of the
Yeah,
Ds,
see?
right?
Yeah, or maybe they're working with the wrong guy, right?
And then, yeah. And then they're looking, I mean, I'm a promoter of the young person.
Oh yeah, well I
Right?
think you have more.
But a lot of young people too are, and Dan probably could, back us, but they're picky now. They want
picky.
the white and white cabinets.
Correct.
They want the nice home ready to go.
Correct.
space.
They need.
They want the home, the
they want it
3-bedroom, the
all
home
ready.
office,
correct,
the
correct.
big island, the
And
big.
you probably, if you talk to your dad will tell you, I lived in an apartment and my kitchen sucked.
And that's exactly. I was just talking about this with another friend of mine last
Yeah.
week. Is that they see what their parents have and they want that immediately.
Nah.
They didn't know and understand that the
Yep.
father started in same thing, a 2-bed,
Yep.
1-bath. You
Yep.
put an addition on the top, and then it is
Yep.
what it is today. So,
Yep.
buyers today have to be patient, and then also they have to be guided by a professional
Right.
mortgage lender, and then a professional real estate
Yeah.
professional like Greg Cerrone.
Right. I like how you say that.
So yeah, so in Edison Park, I mean, where you're at, there's like it's really tight. It's always been tight.
Correct.
It's always tight. Like there, it's like yeah, everyone's going. The houses aren't big there, right? I mean, there are some, but you're gonna pay close to $1 million if you want,
Correct.
2-story.
Right.
I mean, Addison Park is really first of all, it's a tight market. It's like a lot of city workers.
Lot of
Awesome
city
place.
workers.
I love the location.
Yeah, it's got like a downtown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so what guys are doing in Edison Park is, the people that grow up there, they never leave. They might go to college, but then they come back with their moms
Correct.
and their dads, and they stay there for a few years, and then they buy that, starter ranch. And then once they start building a
Correct.
family, they don't leave. They put an addition on the top. You know, they put an addition on the top and then they stay there for the rest of their life. So it's a really cool community.
Yeah.
And so, but if you go up and down the streets, you'll see a lot of 2-story homes. And that's exactly what everyone's very tight knit, very tight.
But you do a lot on the whole northwest side. It's not like just because you're in Addison Park.
Correct. Yeah. And like Gio and I were just talking before is you know, with your network, if you have a friend that says, hey, I've got a condo in Edison Park, but I'm looking to sell that and I'm going to Schaumburg because it's taking me there for work or whatever the case is, you're gonna obviously facilitate that transaction. You're gonna help your client out. It's gonna provide value. So it's all about sphere, right? I think I was out in somewhere like Woodstock the other day, and I had to like check my GPS. I'm like, my wife called me. She's like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, I don't know right now. Like,
I was in Huntley this morning.
Yeah, it's like so. We go wherever our people need us.
I think within an hour you got to be knowledgeable about the market around you. Now.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Years ago, it was when Debbie, and Jane, they used to pick you up and work those few blocks. Now that's the reason why I can't pick up everybody because how can I pick you up, bring you to Huntley, and then I gotta go to Algonquin or
Then you got to bust out the MapQuest, the papers, right? She has the printed papers, but
and so Greg actually, when I first started, Greg taught me something because you hear like, oh, it's local. You get the old timers, and he was like, and it's true. It's like you could get someone that wants to buy in your block, in your zip code, and they could be looking for like 5 years, and then you could go to like I went to Huntley. You can go there 4 times, and you get it done.
Correct.
So it's like sometimes people are like, oh, isn't that a lot of your time? I go, sometimes I got someone that's been looking in my neighborhood for 5 years. They haven't bought nothing yet.
You know what's interesting too?
So I'll take a half-hour ride.
Correct. Yeah.
And a couple times.
And what's interesting too, Frank, is that there's so much data now that's available and that's out there for the consumer. So if they're looking for a particular school district, there's stats and there's information and data available that you can provide that for that consumer to where if they're on the fence about a particular suburb or not, they can make a decision right there on the spot. If something like that would work for them as well. So
yeah, I agree. There's so much going on. Now you got ChatGPT too, tells you
oh yeah,
spit you a bunch of information too. I don't follow all the way, but there's
I'd say it's another tool. What about you? So I know lenders sometimes they don't go to the office all the time. I know it's not a big deal, like office presence. Even for us too, more we have a bigger online presence and social media presence. But where are you? Are you in the city?
Yeah,
your office?
in the city's in Bucktown. So
okay. Oh, you're in the right.
Try to make it to the office 2 to 3 times a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But do you see, Gio, talking about your clients, like, do you see them like, a lot going on, right? New president, new rules,
right.
you hear tariffs, you hear, I want to take over Greenland. I mean, our clients,
So
clients worried when they call you, like they panic, like.
So I would say about 50% of my clientele is Hispanics.
Okay.
So right now, I don't know if most of you are familiar with,
Yeah.
but there's like raids going on, ICE raids.
Yeah.
So a lot of my clients have kind of stopped shopping.
Of course.
Because they're afraid of what can happen.
What could happen?
They're, at an open house or, just shopping.
Yeah.
So
of course.
I've
It's a
had that
reality.
fear. I've had about 2 or 3 of my pre-approvals currently.
Wow.
Just be like, hey, I'm going to stop until all this is out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. See, that's real stuff happening right now.
Yeah. Did so they stop and then is there like a plan like, hey, we're gonna start up again?
There's no plan. They're just very worried about even going out to anywhere.
Do you do I-10 loans as well?
I-10 loans are I-10 loans, the way they work, it's I-10 is basically an identification tax ID number that is given to usually immigrants that come to the United States.
Yes.
It helps them file taxes.
Correct.
Qualify for getting a car loan, credit scores. But basically, the requirements are a little bit different. They do require a higher down payment versus Social Security or a permanent resident.
Correct.
Their requirements can run between 10 to 20% down payment.
Correct.
And then credit scores tend to be a little bit higher. They're 680 plus.
Correct.
Traditional borrower can borrow as low as a 580.
Correct.
But with the I-10, they do require a higher credit score and down payment.
Correct. So technically gives them a chance, right, to buy and to accumulate wealth and equity throughout the years they're working here.
Yeah, it's part of the American dream for them.
Yeah,
just being
100%.
able to get a plot of land here in the U.S.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So I can see if you have a lot of I-10, they're the ones probably that are like, hey, let's put the brakes on. Let's see see what happens, see how this unfolds.
I mean, there's legal I-10s too, Frank.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying if you're doing a lot, that explains why. It's not. Obviously, if they're, if they're like on like a work visa or something, and it's going to expire, they don't know if it's going to get renewed and all that stuff. Got it.
And then it also puts the banks on a different risk factor for them because of what's going on. And banking is basically risk versus, reward.
Correct.
So if the bank feels right now is not a good time to lend, they might pull back with, higher requirements
Yeah.
or just bigger down payments for them.
Okay. But there's a possibility, so that's pretty awesome. And not everybody does it. So there's a
No,
lot of
yeah,
things
I
that
don't know. I don't really know too many
it.
people that do it.
It's hard.
Yeah, right.
You know?
right.
Yeah, so currently right now, what I've been seeing lately is that during, I would say, November all the way up to March, it's easier for them to get their offers accepted. And also I've seen seller credits, which is something that
Yeah.
in the spring or summer markets,
You would not see
it's
it that
something
much.
that
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys know you don't
Correct.
see that often at all. I barely got someone under contract 2 days ago, and they were able to get $11,000 seller credit.
Yeah, that's huge. Plus, if you're working with like a lot of the, Hispanic clients, nothing wrong, but there's a lot of difficult files. Like, you have like self-employed, so maybe they don't show too much income.
Correct.
So you go through the process of.
Oh yeah, I walk them through every step, multiple phone calls, and
Right.
sometimes even going to their house to help them find out what the bank statements they need.
Yeah, right? Because they're not that organized.
Yeah.
Not like Dan, we're dealing with $2 million clients here.
No, I mean, hey,
joke.
listen, I mean, I think Gio hit on a great point, and it's at the fact that there's been a lot of seller credits lately on contracts, right?
Right,
Frank,
right,
Greg,
yeah.
you've seen that. And so those seller credits are super important, especially in high rate environments, because what are they doing with the seller cost credit?
Yeah.
They're buying down their interest rate so that they can afford their home. It all comes down to the affordability, right? So
Yeah.
if they can achieve that through the seller closing cost credit, they're gonna do that. So it's a great point, Gio.
They were talking about this new Chicago. I don't know if you've heard about it. The new Chicago. What is it? It's called Northwest, but it's not how we interpret Northwest. It's like Avondale, Hermosa, I think Humboldt. I forget. There's a couple other areas that they're doing like this pilot program to like combat displacing of people and gentrification. They called it.
I haven't heard of it, but
Yeah, so it's very interesting. If you like have a place that's rented or a multi-unit, your tenants have first right of refusal. When they have to provide a pre-approval, and then they could actually get someone else to buy it.
The new ordinance?
Yeah, the new ordinance in some of the
No,
it's some
there-
zip codes of the city.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's part of Pilsen area, and also a lot of the Humboldt Park area, Avondale. And the reason is because a lot has changed there over time, like the past few years, right?
Yes.
A lot of developers are coming. They're literally like, buying up, little abuelita home. It's true. It's true. And they're building a big house. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's good for the community. But at the end of the day, we want, that's why I have mixed feelings.
And I think there's
Because-
you try to like solve a problem or combat
You're
a problem,
Yeah.
but there's also another side of the coin that you're kind
You're
of
displacing a lot of people from that community.
Right.
And you're changing a little of the community overnight, Let's say the truth. You know what I mean? You're bringing maybe
oh yeah, you go to like
you're expanding Wicker Park,
Yeah.
in a way. And then a lot of those people that have been there for years, Olita gets her money and she leaves. Or then she kicks out
Or the
all,
kids
all the
get-
tenants.
Yeah.
And that's why
or they just knock it down, they build like a bigger place. So that's
yeah, so they're making a little bit that ordinance is making it a little bit more difficult to knock it down, number one.
yeah.
Good and bad, but also I think that I like that just to keep a lot of the history too.
I think that helps, but I feel like at the same time, let's face it, that some of those places are so old that like there's not much potential with the current structure. So, for example, they had I forget which permit it was. One was going from 5 to 20K. Then a multi-unit's going from 20K to 100,000 to knock it down just to do a demolition. So if it's like my fan, yeah,
Just for the permit.
just with a permit.
That's not even the
That's
work.
not the work. It's just like you want to do it, you got to you got.
Yeah.
So the way I see it, it's like, hey, if that's like your family's place, now it's a tear down. Okay, now that the construction is like, well, it's going to cost me $100,000 now. So now you don't get the $100,000.
I know,
The
but
permit
I know,
department gets the
I know,
$100,000.
I know.
That's my view. That's my thing.
I know.
I think.
but they want to keep the area.
No, I get it.
They
I
want to
just-
keep the area mixed.
I think I
the
get.
more you're gonna knock it down. Let's say reality. knock it down. You get the nice condos, the nice brand new house.
Yeah, but-
Who's buying it?
Yeah, but that's
Who's buying it? The
but
person-
it's eventually going to go there. I mean, it's
Yeah, but then you're pushing those people. That's how a lot
yeah,
of
but
Chicago,
it's like if that house can't be habitable.
Chicago has been pushed around. A lot of people
Yeah, but that's
pushed
if they
around
can't.
in
If,
different
that's just
neighborhoods.
how. But if they can't be how.
Even Italians.
Oh
Back
yeah,
then
but
when
they
we were
did it
on
different.
Taylor
They
Street.
put a highway in it, and the city just made a move. It's
just
it's a little different when you say no, you have to move, and we're putting a highway there.
I like
Ver-
the beauty of having like good.
Oh yeah, it's good, but I'm just saying like eventually you can only go against the current. I feel like you can only go against the current so long. So there's some people that have to sell. Like so, I had a listing in Pilsen. It's a long story. I ended up who knows what's going to happen, but it's not habitable. The lady wanted $1 million. It's worth six something. We finally came to things that I got an offer. Then she had guardianship. The guy passed away, unfortunately. So who knows what's going on? But they can't rent it out the way it is. So it's just sitting there. So now someone wants to buy it. Now they're gonna get $100,000 less.
Correct. Yeah.
So who's losing? The owners that. And why are they losing? Because they bought in that neighborhood versus they go 8 blocks west. That person gets I don't know. I feel like when you try to.
There's mixed feelings.
You try to do too much. It's like you can only go. You're going against the current. That's my view. Anyway,
Correct.
So that's what's going
Quick,
on. Well, it's like you're taking like
you
okay,
know?
you want to be fair. Well, if you're the landlord that's probably rented them for cheap, and you're probably like, okay, usually that's what happens, and then you go, and then the city comes and like, okay, we're gonna get all the money. We're gonna raise all these prices. We get that money.
Yeah.
The tenant's gonna tell you when you can sell, if I want it or not, and when you've been the one paying the taxes.
I know.
Taking care of the place.
But the area just changed rapidly, man. And it's
That's how it is.
I know, but it's a little bit too much.
Yeah, well.
I'm telling you, then
But then you can make the buildings like landmark status where you have to keep the building.
I'm just saying,
remodel.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's why there was a word. Like, I have mixed feelings. There's a lot of people who complain about it, but I'm like, no, it's not bad. It's not terrible. You know,
No, it's not. I mean, there's a good part of it, but it's like, I mean, again, like if the building was pristine and it's in good shape, and but if it's falling apart, it's an
I think you're going to create a new set of problems by doing.
I think you're trying to solve one problem, you're going to get 6. Like if you have a dilapidated house next door to you, and it's falling apart, no one's taking care of it, let's tear it down, and then eventually the person who owns it decides to sell, right? Like I would think the neighbors are usually happy for that, right? I mean, now again, we don't want no one to get displaced or anything, but my point of view is like I look at it a landlord's perspective. Like you've been the one paying the taxes for 40 years, 50 years. The tenants, they probably have the rent. If it's one of those places, the rent's probably cheap. The conditions are probably bad. And the city's coming in and saying like, hey, we're gonna charge more, so it's gonna make it harder for people to build, which I don't think is good for anybody, economically or anything. And who gets the money? The seller has to sell it for less because it's $100,000 to build. City gets that money. They're gonna get the $100,000 permit. The buyer has to pay more for it. The city takes that money. The tenant still has to go. I don't know. I see. Yeah, there's a chance that it discourages someone from buying it, but you're just
or maybe instead of
you're devaluing the seller's asset just because someone passed a
I get
law
it.
and
I get it.
they're on their block. I don't know.
But instead of doing a brand new construction, maybe the developer needs to do a little.
they can make
like not a
I mean, you could do that if there's a landmark status or something or something like that. Maybe then maybe that would do it. You don't need to like charge $100,000 so the city gets the money. And with the city, they're so broke. They always find a way, and like I don't. Trust them.
I think what it comes down to, they want to keep the neighborhood mix and improve the general neighborhood, but keeping it more mixed.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Versus
That's
what happens in the past for years and years.
Yeah.
It becomes that just everybody gets kicked out. And then you're secluding everybody in certain other neighborhoods, and it's like instead of improving everybody in the same.
Well,
That's
any
the truth.
any tenant. That's why we're big believer in buyer. Any tenant could be asked to leave their house anytime. You could say, hey, your lease ends, you have to go.
No, I
so
know.
If you bought, you could stay as long as you want. You own it.
But I
If you-
feel like they're just giving them an opportunity to stay in that neighborhood, which, like you mentioned, it is, because what is it, 4 months that they have to purchase?
Yeah. So I mean, like some people need to sell now. Some people inherit a place. Maybe the people were sick, they couldn't afford it, so they haven't paid taxes in 2 years. Now someone bought the taxes, and let's face it, everyone wants to play the sympathetic card, but when the taxes are due, they're due, and if you don't pay, they're taking it. So I don't see them like, oh, we want to keep you there. You can't pay, we'll let you slide. No, when the government can't, you don't pay the government, they take it. No questions asked. Cook County, they're going to take it. So if they're behind, now you got a tax sale date. And now you got some tenant, maybe he's taking advantage of the situation. Like, oh, yeah, here's a pre-approval. You could go to Chase. They go, oh, yeah, I make this much. Here's a pre-approval. Trying to secure financing, 4 months. Now the guy's wrapped up with you for 4 months. And if they stop paying him, what is the landlord to do? I just look at it from their perspective. So you're giving the power to the tenant. You're giving the power to the city. The owner that's been taking care of the place, paying taxes, gives no power. They're like on everybody's.
But
mercy.
anyways, we might have to put a link in this podcast. Carlos might have to put a link.
Carlos, put up the link, man.
No,
Carlos,
because it's getting confusing, right? If
Yeah.
somebody's listening, like, what the heck you're talking about?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we probably might have to put a link where
what's your
because there's specific neighborhoods in Chicago.
Yeah. It's a
everywhere.
pilot,
It's not everywhere,
So-
and it just took effect like in September.
Yeah.
So
we'll put a link and you guys can
Yeah.
read. It's not that much reading.
But
No.
Gio, you work in Bucktown. I don't know exactly where you live, but and it's okay. You don't have to say. Okay. But yeah, what's your thoughts about it? And
Yeah, so my thoughts, I agree with Frank. It does have to do a lot with the landlord because, like you mentioned, sometimes tenants can take advantage of what's going on.
That's true.
And also, maybe do something that's not right and just keep, they'll keep living there without paying any rent or without ever purchasing the building. But I also feel for the tenant because that gives them the opportunity to actually buy the building.
Correct.
And stay in the neighborhood and not see so much diversification from
Correct.
outside
I agree.
investors coming in. They're able to build,
I
they're
like
giving
that
them
too.
the chance to build wealth or equity in that neighborhood without having to, disperse into other neighborhoods.
So then,
Fun.
yeah, let's just say the tenant does want to buy the property. What happens next? Who represents the tenant? Who represents the seller? Like, as far as
I mean, I guess they're on their own. I mean, I would think it would just be like a buy owner situation unless they have representation. But it's like they have 120. I know they have 120 days to secure it. So that's 4 months. It's in real estate world. That's a long time. That's almost like an eternity for a seller. And I know, so let's say you put it up for 500,000, right? It's a multi-unit. So, and the seller and the buyer says, or the tenant's like, hey, I can't afford it, whatever. Then they don't sell on the market. If they lower it 10% or more, so if like, hey, we're going to lower it to 449, his first right of refusal gets reinstated. So he gets another opportunity to do that. So I just feel like they always have the opportunity to buy. Like if a guy wants to sell the building, and there's a tenant and they're willing to buy it. I'm sure, like if it's the right price, he's gonna buy it. Like I don't think I always tell landlords like if that guy buys it, you're like it's like 10, 20 grand more.
Somewhat.
What?
Somewhat. They got opportunity to buy. Maybe.
Some.
Yeah, because if the building is a little, let's say, it needs some work and everything, right? And
That's going to be reflected on the price.
The seller's like, oh, I just want to sell as is. I don't want to deal with the tenant. He barely has money. That's what he's going to think. I'm going to sell it to the developer. It's going to come. He's giving me a cash offer.
That's true.
Now you can't take that cash offer that easy, my friend.
Yeah.
You got to give the respect and not respect. I mean, at least the right.
You got to give it a
Or
shot.
direct.
That's
Right.
true. That's true.
And he has a shot to buy it. Listen. I'm an owner, right? I would be pissed off if my tenants, tell me that that's the law and I can't sell my building. But if I get a fair amount, listen, and they buy it, I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
As long as I get a fair market value.
Yeah.
Correct.
If I get ripped off and then all of a sudden I got to sell 20% less than fair market value, then I would have a problem with
Yeah.
it. But if it's a fair market value, I don't know. That's the problem sometimes. These laws get taken advantage.
Yeah.
But if it's a fair market value, I think I'm all for it. I think it's a good thing.
It's definitely
In my
going to be.
opinion.
It's going to be an interesting law. So we'll see.
Something right now like HUD homes, right? That the primary, if it's your primary residence, that you have like a 30-day period to purchase versus an investor.
Correct. On the HUD home, yeah. But then again, there's tricky investors, They're going to say,
They
like,
say, oh, yeah.
it's going to be their primary home.
Yeah,
And they're going to keep it for a year.
the HUD police aren't going to knock on their door after the court.
So that happens
Trust me.
too. That happens too.
But-
But
But the key is, if you want to stay in your neighborhood, you can't. Don't your rent could go up anytime. You could be the landlord could move somebody else in anytime. They have to give you
yeah, I
notice.
know, friend. But it's hard. It's tough, and then
Oh, yeah, I know.
A lot of people are getting this. They are getting.
I know, but I'm just
They're
saying,
gonna
like,
kick
if you want to
back.
protect yourself, the best way is to buy. That's all.
So yeah, no, I know, but sometimes that's a whole other conversation. Maybe you need more, educational program in schools,
Yeah.
in neighborhoods to teach people, even in these areas where they're going to school. Like I know teachers that teach in the school district, they're not teaching these kids how
No.
to buy a home, how to build wealth.
No.
They're not. And so us, got Dan from Addison Park here. His dad taught him all these stuff. Buy a business, do that, buy a house.
Yeah. No, I.
Me too, thank God.
Yeah.
And these people are not getting taught nothing.
Yeah.
They're getting taught shit. And that's why they grow up like that. They're, and then all of a sudden you got the big cash guy buying the whole neighborhood and they get moved out. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah. No, I know.
About it.
It's.
No,
I just feel it's not
I
right.
agree. I agree with that. It's a lot about what you see growing up and the
Yeah.
mentorship that you see.
100%. 100%. You too, Frank.
No, I know.
You're buying real estate stuff, but you saw your uncle, your grandpa, your dad.
Yeah. No, I
you know
know.
what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah,
like
we-
you got taught automatically.
Oh yeah, I know.
And at school, what they teach you?
No, they
teach you
don't
that?
teach. They don't teach you that. They
Exactly.
don't teach you that. But that's what I think. That's what we think. So Carl's gonna put the link up. Everyone else could read about it. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works out.
Sorry, Dan.
All good, man. No,
It was a compliment.
I agree, dude. And there's a lot of things that I probably want to say that I shouldn't, but
Dan, it's a safe environment.
yeah,
You're-
I think overall, I think it's fair, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to implement this, and we're trying to level the playing field a little
Yeah.
bit. But,
Yeah, a little bit.
But
Yeah.
so at the same time, it's like you guys, certain people did have that type of education,
Correct.
and so you
Correct.
would think that if you were educated or you were taking it, whatever, that you should have some sort of advantage. And
Yeah,
but
yeah.
again, I still think there's people that are going to try to get around this some way, somehow.
100%.
Oh yeah,
And there's gonna
100%.
be more
I think people just get more creative
correct.
and they'll get around.
But talking about developments,
Oh,
I heard Dan talks with the developer every day.
well,
Right now, what's going on?
Edison Park. So we've had a lot of recent development
Uh-huh.
and whatnot. So we had a funeral home down on Northwest Highway, Seworth Funeral Home for longest time. They're demolishing it. They just demolished it in December, and they're going to be building an 82-unit apartment building with high-end retail at the bottom. So it's a very exciting time to be in Edison Park. And not to mention, we've got, you guys remember the old Happy Foods?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Stop
yeah.
in there,
Yeah,
get a little
what's
potato
going on there?
salad.
Yeah,
And so it's going to be, it's called EP Fresh Market. So it's amazing. It's going to have a
Really?
cafe, taquero, bakery, deli.
Oh,
It's amazing. It's going to be amazing. It's a great addition for Edison Park. So especially for me, when I walk, lunchtime, grab something to eat or cleaning supplies for
That's
the
perfect.
office, it's like perfect, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and so for a lot of these guys in Edison Park, especially with the new development, everything's walking distance.
Yeah.
You don't have to, everything's very convenient for
Yeah.
you.
I think that'll attract more stuff to open up.
Yeah.
Once you have more people, more
Absolutely.
demand, then
Yeah.
then it's
It's a matter of time. Edison Park, I mean, it's already like on the map, but it's going to boom even more.
No doubt. No doubt.
I for sure.
I get calls every day. I've got an appointment right after this, and
Yeah.
they want to be specifically
Specifically
in
there,
Edison
yeah.
Park because you have access to the train and everything's walkable.
Yeah.
No,
I love that area. I was going to buy a building right around the corner by your office. I'm so upset that I did not.
Yeah, you
I
should.
swear to God, I'm so upset.
Yeah. We could have.
You know?
Yeah.
It didn't work out. You know how it goes. At that time, you always don't think it's the right time.
No
And
doubt.
Then when you miss out, then you're like, shit, I should have just done it.
Right.
You
We've got a
know?
lot of energy in Edison Park. We
Yeah,
got
100%.
on the corner Pizza Boy. You guys heard
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Pizza Boy?
good talk. How's it going? Have you been there?
He's amazing. Yeah,
good
he's
dude.
got Detroit style pizza.
Yeah.
And he's bringing a lot of energy. So there's a lot of think
A lot going on.
lot going on.
Good.
So which
In
is
a good
great.
way.
In a good way. In a
Yeah.
good way. So
Going back to development, I know it's going to be a good development. But I feel the guy now with everything happening, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the tariffs, maybe.
Correct.
Even the developers probably like a little worried, right? What do you think?
right now they're going through all the hard numbers,
Okay.
permits and whatnot. But when I was talking with him, he said this new election cycle, this new administration, he said
Yeah.
people are feeling extremely confident.
Confident.
People are like
Okay.
throwing money at him and saying like, "Hey, this is what I want to do. Let's go do this." So
Investors.
investors. So there's a lot of energy.
There's
and a
confidence.
correct. There's a lot of confidence behind
Does that get mixed review? Right? I get mixed talks, right? There's some people like, oh my God, it's going to be bad for the economy or for rebuild. And then there's people that are super confident because
Correct.
maybe like even that Doge, what's it called?
Yeah, Department of Government Efficiency. So
Yeah.
they're uncovering all this money that the government is recklessly spending.
Waste of money. Yeah.
We were spending like it was like 100 million.
Yeah.
To like some foreign country condoms, like condoms, 100
Yeah.
million worth of condoms to some foreign country. And so I think we can edit that out, Carlos. But
I mean, I know we could keep it. Don't worry.
know,
Don't worry.
you know, if
I think. I mean, they should send some here. In Chicago, I think we need some.
Yeah,
You know?
no kidding. How about it?
You
How
know?
about it? But so I don't know. I mean, they're cleaning up a lot.
They're
of this
cleaning up a
stuff.
lot of stuff, and that could be better for the economy too. Maybe with inflation,
Correct. Yeah, we think it's going to bring down inflation, and so
Correct.
rates eventually
less spending, right?
less spending, and so rates could come down, and I think that works out for everybody. And so, but like Frank said earlier in the podcast, when rates start to come down, I feel like prices are going to start to accelerate.
But yeah, they will. I mean, the only thing good about rates coming down is it might help builders build more, so give us more inventory. But like that's the thing with, like Greg was saying, mixed stuff on tariffs. It's like, oh, it's like now is the building materials going to be higher?
Yeah.
Because there's we got tariffs. But we'll see. It might increase production here.
So I guess talking about maybe a lot of our viewers might be buyers. So what does a buyer do 90 days? You know what I mean? Like the rates might go up, inventory is low.
It feel like
is it a good time to buy now? Is it not a good time?
Everyone that's procrastinating.
Let's hear everybody thoughts.
I'll go by my experience. Anyone I started beginning of 2010. Anyone who's ever bought from when I started to now is better off.
Okay.
If you would have waited, if you I was going to buy and I waited,
But then again, I could debate you on that too a little bit.
I'm just talking about the facts.
The prices were really low in 2010.
Yeah, but they weren't.
You know what I
27. When I was out in 2017, like, oh, it's going to crash. 2018, I had people that sold a place. They're still looking right now. They sold 3 years ago. They sold their condo because they thought it was going to crash, and then they're going to come in and buy.
Okay.
Now they're going to pay 80 grand more.
Okay. So you're a promoter. You like keep buying.
It's you got it's
Right.
supply and demand. There's
Okay.
9 million people over 25 that are living at home, 25 to 35, and they're only getting older, and there's only more people coming in that are people are saying, you see this stuff online about all these baby boomers are gonna move out, and there's gonna be all houses. Like I don't see it. People leave. Then you hear people leaving Illinois. Oh, prices are going up.
What about Gio? What do you think? You see behind the scenes some applications and
There has been an uptake on applications.
but they can't. Can they afford it?
That's the biggest issue, affordability, and then down payment. A lot of the people looking to buy right now don't have the money to afford it. They're looking at grants. They're looking at
That's why the age is 38, the average new buyer.
That's because like Dan was saying. Dan was saying they want it all now. They want the BMW, the Mercedes in the garage.
Yeah,
then they
dude,
go.
but listen, we're not living in your era. Not everybody's like you anymore. Sorry, I just want to let you know.
Well, that's his point. His point is, or your point actually was, hey, this is what my parents said. What makes you think you're going to be different? Like, what makes you think, unless you're making 200 grand?
But
a
now
year.
there's social media. People want to do this.
How much? Like, let's say you're what do they? Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you.
Yeah. So I can give you an example. A couple making 70,000 together, that's 140 annually. They have one car payment. They still won't qualify sometimes for that $500,000 plus home, and that's sometimes in the city a starter home.
Yep.
So it depends really on their wants and needs. But I would say the biggest thing right now that buyers, millennials, the age group that usually buys should focus on is getting their savings up, and then also working on just getting started in a basic entry home and not wanting like the house with all the bells and whistles, the pool, the big backyard, all that, because that's only going to prolong their purchasing.
Yeah.
They're going to wait another 2-3 years, and then the market's going to get either more buyers or more people waiting the same mentality that they have.
I agree.
That's just one fraction of the problem for buyers is the affordability. So the other issue is inventory, right? So when there's little inventory, everyone's looking at the same house. But that's where I feel like you've got to lean into a professional, because they're going to give you access to, private network listings, right?
Yeah.
Like Greg and I were talking about any listings that we have coming up, and you have to be proactive about your search. And so if you get yourself into a multiple bid situation and there's 10 other offers on the table, it's a game of poker. You don't know what anybody else is holding. So again, essentially you have to have all the tricks, right? You got to know what escalation clauses are. You've got to get, like we do like pre-inspections sometimes, right? Not dad, right? Because dad will blow up the deal, but we do like pre-inspections to make sure our inspector gets in and we think it's a sound home in the event that we'd like to go in as is, right? So, and then there's appraisal waivers and things like that we've seen. But so like, I feel like when it does get messy and tricky in multiple bid situations, you have to be working with an agent like Greg Cerrone from XR Realty to get the deal done.
See, that's why he's here.
It comes down to
that's it. I appreciate it.
I sense some sarcasm in the comments, but that's okay.
Greg, and it helps too, honestly, guys. To have friends in the industry too, because if Greg brings a buyer to one of my listings, I can assure my seller that, hey, this is a good guy. He's working with good people, and let's get this deal done.
For the most part.
You're right, for the most part. Sometimes we duke it out, but it's for the most, like I said, you want to.
No, it's true.
No, but it's
true. You're
and
right.
I think that's where like having the good agent. Yeah, there's the knowing the data, and there's also connecting. Like okay, are you calling the agent and saying like, hey, telling them who your buyer is? Just you want to be remembered, right? If they got 10 offers and there's 10 pieces of paper. But like, hey, this guy keeps calling me, or this guy had a good conversation. Oh, these people are from somewhere. They need a place, or the wife's they're going to have she's due in 2 months. So, like sometimes I know if I hear like, hey, this person they just sold their house or living with their in-laws. She's giving it like, okay, they're pretty motivated. Like they're not unless something drastic happens with inspection. Like this is going to go through.
Correct.
So, but if no one's articulating that, and you just send an offer and you don't even see if they got it, then you're probably. I mean, you better make sure your terms and your price is beating everybody.
Correct.
If you're close and the other guy's giving you some background, he might tip the scale enough. When it's close. Now, money's money though.
And that's a good point, Frank, because as a seller's agent, and you have. Like you said, you have 10 contracts on the table. You're essentially interviewing each one of these contracts to make sure that the deal goes through. Because if the deal doesn't go through, okay, you have to go back to market. And, then you have to explain to the new buyers that come in, why did this become reactivated? Because when buyers see properties that become reactivated, red flags start going off. They're like, what happened? It had to be, is there water in the basement? All these things. So then, which could lead to then again, accepting an even lower contract price, right? So you have an important job as a seller's agent to vet not only the contract, but who are they working with? Taking it a step back, who's the agent? Who's the lender that they're working with? And so do they have strong financing? So there's a lot of legwork on the back end. And again, that's why it's so important to have industry connections because, we hold each other accountable.
No, it's true. It's true. I agree.
Yeah, no. What about you from the lender side? I mean, I'm sure people call you to see like, hey.
Yeah, so like Dan mentioned, it really does depend on vetting the buyer and making sure that we vet him, we pre-approve him correctly. We, make sure that he's pre-underwritten with an automatic underwriting system. But basically making sure that his assets are there, his bank statements, that he has a good credit score before we actually issue the pre-approval.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want is that, Sally and Bob go on their contract and then a month later we find out that the money they had was all wasted on furniture or buying a car or a down payment for something, and now they don't qualify for the loan anymore.
So back to multiple offers, and you were a Rocket. So I'm just gonna. This is it's not me.
Yeah.
I had a multiple offer. Huge. It was in Lincoln Park.
We're good.
500, and they hit so many. She said she had 100 showings, and she wouldn't tell me how many offers, whatever. But she was cool. She's pretty transparent, and she asked who the lender was, and I couldn't get them off Rocket because I wasn't. So as soon as I said Rocket, it was like a big sigh, like the air came out of the like So that's just how it is in the real world, I mean, it's like, so unless you really know that person and I got to vouch for them, so it's all connected, so.
It's not about what you know, it's who you know sometimes.
It's who you know. Or if you need an updated pre-approval like this, because the price is escalating, you can get on the phone with a guy like Gio and he'll change the price.
Change it, we know.
Right.
I mean, it's cutthroat business. We all want to be fair, but it's the seller wants to get. I had one seller, they didn't want to tell us there's multiple offers, and they told me last minute, and it was like, oh, it's due now. It was a disaster. So
No, I think right now still the value is really big for having a good agent like Dan or having a good loan officer like Gio. We're not that automatic yet. It's not Amazon. You know,
Right.
like that Rocket Mortgage one.
Yeah, it's all like, okay, go online,
You
do
know,
this,
or-
click this, click
Not
that.
yet. It might. You
Yeah.
never know. Maybe 5-10 years, but not.
No,
yet.
yeah, no, I agree.
Right now, the real, having a good person behind, having your back is huge, in my opinion. And plus, the government, even the past, 20 years, you see, even if we have inflation, even if there's issues, they're all about protecting real estate.
Yeah.
That's why price has been going up, because the real estate's a hedge against inflation, technically. So
Yeah.
as a buyer, probably you buy, it might be hard, right? The income is low, you don't have a lot of money, but you're always gonna, in the United States, in the long run, you're always gonna build equity, like automatically, even without doing nothing.
Correct. Yeah.
There's a lot of the economy goes around real estate. All right, guys, we talked about a lot of things today. Gio, it was nice having you. I'm glad you came.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, it was a
today.
pleasure, man.
You're welcome.
Greg and Dan. No, I was.
Dan, it was nice
We'll do
seeing
it
you,
again.
man.
We'll do it
Seeing you, man.
again.
No, we keep it.
those,
He said the
cigars.
name.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all
Thanks
good.
for the cigars, Dan.
Of course, man.
And maybe the next podcast we'll have it at the cigar club.
Hey, or at my office.
Oh,
Edison
let's do it.
Park,
Yeah, let's
right?
do it.
Let's
For
do it at the
real.
office for sure. What do you think, Carlos? Do you think you can make it?
I think we could do it.
All right, let's
I
do
think
it,
we could do
baby.
it. Anyways, episode 39
In the
is
books.
done. See you guys soon.
Thank
Ciao.
you.